Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Joffrey Noodle Legs here today. Today I've got a little unboxing for you today of two box sets. You may remember I went to CEX in Stevenage and I picked up two collector's editions from CEX from Arrow Collector's Editions. So I'm going to unbox them today and give you a little look at them both. Obviously I picked up the American Werewolf in London and I picked up the Hills of Eyes Part 2. What I'm going to do, I'm going to show you what's in the boxes. Then I'm going to watch this one and stick a review of this film at the end of this video. See what I think of that film. I'm not going to bother with this one because you already know what I think of this film. It's one of my favourite films of all time. Really, really cool. So, what do I get in this? They say I bought this for £12 from CEX. It's in mint condition. Smells new. No, I think it must have had one view. So it comes out with a box. Really cool box. And it comes with a book. The booklet's really, really cool. It's got loads of sort of photographs and interviews with some of the actors from the films. There's a lot to sort of like be getting on with this book. Really, really cool. There's a picture there of the great late Brian Glover. So that's a cool little book. Comes with it. It comes with a poster, double-sided poster. First of all, you've got the original. No, you've got the Arrow new artwork, which is really, really cool. I do like that. I like, especially like the slaughtered lamb part there. And then you've got the original poster, movie poster, and I actually really like that. I like the original poster. It was very sort of plain, but still very, very effective and really, really cool. I did like it, and it does take me back when I see that picture, because I remember seeing posters of that up around London Underground, because I used to go up there quite a lot, and there's always loads of posters around. They used to have loads of posters, and I saw that in there quite a bit in the 80s. And then it comes with the movie itself, Blu-ray. It comes in with double reverse cover. I've turned the cover inside out because the picture on the other cover is the same as the box. So I thought, well, have a different picture. And it comes with the movie in Blu-ray. And then it also comes with these art cards, which look like this. That's the reverse. They've all got the same picture on reverse. There we go. There's a picture of the transformation. There's a picture of them when they hear the wolf on the moors. There's a picture of them asking the question about the pentagram on the wall at the pub. Here they are. They're just walking in the moors after getting off the truck with all the sheep. This is the all the sort of cars that crashed into each other at Leicester Square when the werewolf was there. And this is the guy that was on the underground going up the escalator before he gets attacked by the werewolf. So they're the art cards. Really cool. Really, really chuffed to get this addition to my collection. Really, I am. It's so cool. It's going to be a prized possession for me. I'm not going to bother reviewing it or looking at it because I know it's fantastic, but I will watch the film, obviously, to make sure my disc works fine. But yeah, but look at all the extra features on there. There's an absolute ton of them on there, so I'm going to enjoy that. So we'll move on to the other box set now. This is the Hills of Eyes Part 2. Now, I haven't seen this for years. I did see it years and years ago when it came out of VHS. I remember probably buying an ex-rental copy of Video Choices or Blockbusters. I probably would have bought an ex-rental copy, and I remember not being very impressed by it. But I'm glad to have it get it into my collection because it's an Arrow, and it's an old 80s horror film, and I collect them, so I'm glad to get it. Anyway, so this comes in the same, apart from this isn't taped on, which is a bit annoying, but it does come in a really cool box, as you can see. Nice solid box. And inside this, most of Arrow's collector's editions are pretty similar, you know, but they're all based around that certain movie. So I'll give you a little look anyway. So once again, this comes with a poster. It will be double-sided. It will have the new Arrow artwork, and then it will have the original poster on the other side. So I'll give you a quick look at those. There we go, that's the new artwork, and here's the original. That's cool, really cool. It comes with a booklet. There we go, with a discount Eddie Kidd on the front. It's not really, but do you guys remember Eddie Kidd? Christ, I'm old. Yeah, if you remember Eddie Kidd, then that's not him. But anyway, it's a cool little booklet. It just again tells you about the making of the film and some sort of photographs from the film, which is really, really cool. So it comes with a booklet too. So like I said, they're very, very similar, the collector's editions, but they're cool. They're really cool. And they look great when you get them together. They're just expensive, you know. They're like $29.99 to $34.99 when they come out, and it's like, it's just a bit much for one film. That's why when I pick them up like this, it's a real cool thing. So again, here's the film, the Blu-ray. I've swapped the cover around again, reversible sleeve, because I've already got that new picture on there, so I'll put the original one up on there. Once again, it comes with a Blu-ray, and it comes with some art cards. Let's have a quick look. I think that's just a lobby card for a different film. There we go. They've all got the same reverse of a bus exploding. It's a French poster. It's cool. There we go. Budget Eddie Kidd again. Looks like the crew. Picture of the crew. Oh, sorry guys. This one. And it's got this really cool like poster one. I like that one the best. So that's cool. Let me just pick these up, guys. You know what I'm like. I'll drop everything. There we go. So yeah, it comes with the art cards. So that's cool. Okay, I'll pick these up for £12 each. So I'm going to do now, guys, just go and watch this film. I'm not expecting much from it, because if I remember right, when I did see it years ago, it wasn't as good as the original, if I remember right. It just didn't have that sort of feel to it. But I'll go and give it a watch, and I'll come back to you, and I'll let you know what I thought. So, okay, I watched the movie, so I'll give you a little synopsis on it. Basically, it sort of starts off straight from the first one, with the guy that survived the first one, and the girl, the cannibal girl that helped him out, and they both got away with the baby. So it sort of starts off from then with the guy actually in the psychiatrist, and it turns out he's a part of a motocross, which is like a motorbike sort of team, and they decide they want to go out there to do some filming or to do some trial practicing with their motocross bikes. He doesn't want to go because he keeps having flashbacks to what happened with his family being all killed. Why would you want to go anyway? I mean, if all your family's been killed there, why on earth would you want to go back there? And it keeps having little flashbacks. So in the end, he doesn't go. But the girl who was a cannibal in the first one, she was the sister, Ruby. She decides to go with the kids to the out back to the desert to practice their biking. So they all get on this sort of large red bus and they head out to like the desert again.
Supposed to be true. Oh no, Uncle Harry, don't steer us into stories. Sorry, children, but we are approaching the I'm in the desert with a family of Jupiter elsewhere, where the sand ran with fire and blood and the hills had eyes.
Watch the road, Gary.
Why? Does he see something I know?
Ha ha.
You see that story about that wild family nobody knew about?
Oh yeah, the ones who lived on the bomb range and ate anyone who came through.
So as you can see, they're sort of like heading back to that desert. There's like there's a black dude who's like a sort of comedian. There's this blind girl there, and she's got this sort of extra sort of sense, and she can sort of pick up on things when she hears it or smells it. And there's like the normal sort of 80s sort of American sort of teen guys at their jocks, if you want to call, with like the kind of like cheerleader sort of girls. They go out there with this woman out to the desert, and while they're out there, then the blind girl starts to sense that the everything's not okay. So after Michael Perriman making his appearance there, letting you know that the family's still there, they realise that their vans had a leak from underneath, so they're out of fuel. Surprise, surprise! And then they find this deserted old sort of mining house with this like a mine and deserted house. So they go there looking for fuel, and that's when things start to go a bit funny, and they realise Michael Perriman steals one of the bikes. So two of them set off on the bikes to catch him, and one of them gets killed by a rock. Well, it looks more like a sponge falling on him, and the other one, Roy, survives it but gets injured. And then it cuts back to the other group, and they all start getting sort of killed off one by one in the most unimpressive deaths of any sort of horror film. And then they then obviously realises, oh, the family's still alive, so Michael's around and this guy's around. You only see two of the family there, and there's also the dog, Beast, that Michael Perriman remembers because it nearly killed him in the first one, and Beast kills him in this one. And it's like, it's quite, and that's a sort of story about trying to get away from like these two guys. So, and obviously a couple of them survive and they head off. So that's the story of this one. What I think of the film, I thought it was quite good. Weren't brilliant, to say the least. Nowhere near as good as the first one. The first one was great. Again, I wouldn't put it awesome or anything, but that was a great film, and this was good. It sort of lacked a lot of things in it. Mostly the kills, they were really poor. There was absolutely pretty much zero gore in it, and any sort of gore you did see was sort of like post deaths. There was one when the guy had his throat cut. That's the only sort of gore sort of thing you see. The rest is all pretty non-gorish, so that was a little bit of a anticlimactic. But you know, it was a good film. It's a good sort of popcorn film. It had a real sort of TV movie feel rather than like a sort of cinema sort of movie. It had like that sort of like a TV sort of feel to it, or straight to sort of DVD sort of feel to it, like a smaller budget. Obviously the cast was nowhere as grand as the first one. The first one had Dee Wallace and other people in it, so it was a grander sort of cast, and it had a sort of a little bit of a Texas Chainsaw Massacre sort of feel to it. Again, that was like in the 70s, and this was filmed I think in the early 80s, if I remember right. So it was a bit of a gap. It was again directed by Wes Craven, but he obviously had a lot smaller budget, and I don't think it's one of his better films. It's quite poorly acted, but it's shot really well. It looks really nice. You know, it looks like a really cool sort of horror film. The only thing I felt was really good about the film was the soundtrack, because it was done by Harry, who done the Friday the 13th. So that gave it a bit of a Friday the 13th feel, just due to some of the music. It had a real sort of Friday the 13th sort of sound to the soundtrack. And I'm really not sure how this has got an 18 certificate. There's absolutely nothing in it to class it as an 18. So there was one throat cut, but I've seen them in 15s, and there was one tiny, tiny little bit of nudity. But that's it. I wouldn't class it as an 18. So if you think you're going in there to get this sort of gore fest in, you're going to be disappointed. So anyway, first of all, the positives of the film. The transfer is not too bad. Some of the scenes are really, really, really badly grainy, with lot of sort of noise in the film on there. Sorry about that. My phone went off. It was just a hoaxy call, so I didn't bother answering it. Yeah, so the picture's quite grainy, which in some areas, but in other areas it looks really cool and stunning, sharp. But yeah, that was cool. It did have a sort of atmosphere to the film that was quite sort of eerie and a little bit suspenseful. Um, I liked the music. The music was really cool. It was really well filmed. It's a really great direction in there. Camera work was really good. So that was really cool. The negatives are the kills were awful. There wasn't hardly any. It was about 40. It's an hour and a half long, and you're about 50 minutes into the film till like the first thing happens. So it's a lot of a build up to nothing really. The say after the sort of like unimpressive sort of kills, and there was a lot of poor acting in there, but I like poor acting anyway, so to me that was a bit of a positive thing. The story was not as good as the first one. I do prefer the first one over this one. But yeah, that's the main negatives, and like I say, in some of the sort of print of the transfer weren't particularly brilliant. But yeah, the most gutting thing was the anti-climatic kills for an 18 film. So yeah, I'm gonna score this a good watch, and I'm gonna score it 6 out of 10. And that's me being quite kind, because I'm kind anyway, and I'm glad to have this in my collection. Because as I got the first one, so it's good to finally get the second one in my collection. Am I a little bit disappointed with the film? Yeah, of course, because you're kind of hoping that it's going to be on par with the first one, or it's going to be better. I say because it did star Michael Perriman, but then I watched the making of afterwards, and a lot of the interviews of the actors like Michael Perriman, some of the co-producers, and that saying how badly acted it was, how the budget was really, really small, and there was no sort of real feeling in the film of really wanting to do it too much. And Wes Craven did the best he possibly could with the money and finances that he had to make it, to be honest. And I that leads me to questioning, then why make it? You know, if you think you're going to make something that's not going to be as good as the original or on par with it, why bother sort of doing it? You know, of course, but I think one of the guys said they needed some money, because I think they wanted to do another project to go out, and to fund that they needed to make something quick to sort of get out there to sort of fund their other projects. So they made this on a low budget, to sort of hopefully make money off it to fund their other projects, and that you can pretty much clearly see in the film. But I quite enjoyed it. If it was a TV movie, I'd have thought, yeah, that's a really good TV movie. As a cinema movie, it's a poor cinema movie, but as a whole, I quite enjoyed it. I'm glad to have it in my collection, and it is something I probably would rewatch, um, just because I like really bad movies sometimes and sort of bad acting and that. But it's some of it's just so funny, like Michael Perriman's death is so. It was just so anticlimactic. The dog just pushed him and he fell off the cliff. There was this big rock falling down, and it looks like a giant sponge when it hits the guy. And some woman, Ruby, she falls down and hits her head on the rock, and you can still see her breathing and going, oh, and she's supposed to be dead, and it's just like, well, so it's like that, but it gives it a little bit of a charm, and that's why I'd watch it again, because I'd probably find something in it. The only other real negative thing is for Arrow. It's actually looks like there's a lot of special features, but when I looked on the disc, there's not that many. There's a couple of audio commentaries. There's one making of, and there's some trailers and still galleries. And I just thought that's not a lot, really, considering Arrow tend to put a lot in there. So that was the only other sort of negative thing, but it's a good watch, and I'll give it 6 out of 10. So there you are, guys. So there you are. I've done the 2 unboxings there of the Hills of Ice Part 2 Collector's Edition and American Werewolf in London Collector's Edition, which are dead chuffed. I won't bother reviewing that film. That already gets an awesome watch to me, and that's a 9 out of 10. I don't need to review it because it's one of my favourites. Go and check out some YouTube channels, guys. When you get a chance, Horror Hands, Horror in Todge, Sarah of Horror, The Horror Geek, Man v Film, and Pizzawell, and also RS Designs. And I'll give a special shout out to me lad Lemon Lord, who was there when I got this film. So that's cool. Anyway, guys, till next time, you look after yourselves, look after one another, and I really hope I see you all soon.